What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Padawan Podcast, Apocalypse Movies All Star Wars podcast, where we geek out on everything from the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Jake Berlin, aka Qui-Gon Jake. I am joined today by my fellow table member, Jacob Bartley, aka Grandma Bartley. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. I am, mixed emotions, kind of sad, kind of happy. I mean, I'm happy that we have a Star Wars movie in theaters right now that I can't wait to go see for the fourth time. I'm happy that I got a PS4 with Star Wars Battlefront for Christmas.
Battlefront is so much fun.
It's awesome.
It's so much fun.
Look, some people say it's disappointing because there's no story mode or whatever, but if you're a Star Wars fan, it's so incredible to do some of the things that you can do on there.
I just bought the new DLC pack over the holiday weekend, and it's all 4 of the new packs. So I got Scarif, Death Star, and everything to play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You have online, right?
Yeah.
So I got the latest update of the game, and it comes with all. It came with all that stuff.
That's awesome.
I just don't have online yet. I'm gonna get it, but guess what? My name is my
Grandma Farley.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Nice.
But also, I am terribly freaking sad because of the passing of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, so. We're gonna get into that. So we'll start. We're talking about a good portion of the beginning of the show to talk about. Obviously, some extremely devastating news here. Over Christmas weekend, we were all thrown for a loop when news broke that original Star Wars star Carrie Fisher suffered a heart attack on a plane on her way home back to the States. While she was in stable condition the days following, that wasn't enough, as it was revealed Tuesday of last week that Fisher passed away with her family by her side. The actress who revolutionized the female heroine role, as Princess Leia in the Galaxy Far, Far Away, was also widely known for her script patching and fearless approach to important causes such as mental health and drug addiction. After the overwhelming response, there's no doubt that Fisher will be missed by not just Star Wars fans, but people everywhere. Fisher was 60 years old. Our condolences go out to her family. Jacob, this is pretty bad news, pretty sad news. What did she mean to you, not just as Princess Leia, but overall?
Well, we talked about this on Movie News, and it hasn't been a long time, but we've had time to let this digest a little bit, and it's we weren't able to just hop on video or mic right away, but it's really devastating, man. And it's not like she died of old age, some celebrities pass, they die in their 90s, late 90s, and they lived a long, full life, and they given all they can to us, and it's still sad, but it's not tragic. This is tragic because she was only 60 years old. She suffered health problems. She had a terrible heart attack, and she left us way too soon. And she had so much more life to live and so much to give us, and a daughter to continue raising, and that's why it's tragic, And a lot of people don't understand. I talk to casual fans or just people who don't like Star Wars, people who don't like movies like that, and they're like, why do you care so much? You didn't know her, and I can understand how someone would think that. I'm not mad at those people. But you got to understand, we spend so much time with characters in front of movie screens, and none other than these Star Wars characters, with Luke, Han, Leia. I've spent so many hours watching them on screen, and you get attached to them, and they're not just celebrities to us. They're not just characters. They become a part of us, and they become a part of what we love and why we do what we do, and that's kind of a short summary of me explaining it, but there's a lot more to it. But for those people out there who don't really understand, it's Star Wars embodies who I am. So and Princess Leia is one of the pillars of Star Wars. She is arguably just as important as Han and Luke and some of the other characters that are involved, and Vader for that matter. So and just as the Princess Leia character, she means the world to me. She is she will always be my favorite female character in film, no matter what. I mean,
I agree. I'm with you. Yeah.
No one will ever come close.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say Luke and Han are my favorite male characters in cinema, but she's definitely my favorite female character in cinema. And just talk about having a crush on a character when you're younger,
those buns.
She looks amazing in those movies, and she's just gorgeous. And then even today, she's in The Force Awakens, and what her character means to the future of Star Wars, because she's she's the mother of one of our main characters going forward, Kylo Ren, and who knows where they were planning to take her. Not that that's important right now, but it's just 30 years later, she's still very important to this franchise. And just outside of that, hearing about the things she's done for people suffering with mental illness, with drug addiction and all that, it's just, you know, even though she wasn't perfect, she you know, did some bad things in her life that she openly talks about. She's a saint in her own right, because she turned those bad experiences into positives to help people, and it shows what type of person she was, how great she was. And I always remember Carrie Fisher for sure, and always.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I echo just everything you said. I think that you know, a lot of people are asking the question about, oh, what does this mean for episode 8 and episode 9, you know, going forward, and that doesn't really matter right now.
I don't even care right now.
Yeah, it does not matter at all, and the fact that not only did Carrie Fisher pass, but her mother also passed a day later.
Yeah,
so their
I
family,
keep forgetting to mention
their
that.
family is
like,
definitely dealing.
Crazy.
Yeah, their family is definitely dealing with a lot of things, and hearing all the outpour of just responses from everyone around the world is just fantastic to hear. She is obviously, you know, she's our princess. She's the one and only princess, in my opinion. She's the one that doesn't really need saving. You know, we all say it, but she not only meant a lot to us Star Wars fans, but like you said, just to all the people around the world that, you know, she was part of the activist program for as far as mental illness and drug addiction. She took that by storm and just, you know, went after it after what she went through in part of her life. And she's a huge personality that will never be forgotten. You hear all these people who are close to her as far as, you know, in different roles alongside her, whatever, coming out about these stories, and you're getting to know her on a different level than we ever knew Carrie Fisher before. And it's tragic and unfortunate. She meant a whole lot to me. She's, like Jacob said, she's part of the reason we do this, and she's definitely my favorite female character. She's, you know, I think that the character had said it best as Star Wars, or Max von Sydow's character, she's royalty. You know, she's not a general, she's royalty, and she'll always be that. So it's definitely a sad day for not just Star Wars fans, but people everywhere. So, all right, well, moving on, a little bit of Rogue One before we get to some Star Wars Rebels. If you have yet to see Rogue One at this point, please drop everything you're doing, go watch it. But 2, and most importantly, you're not going to want to hear what follows. This is spoiler territory, so you've been warned. Spoiler, everyone dies at the end of Rogue One. And while some may not like the ending and think it's crazy, it's truly the best ending for the story being told. But that wasn't always the case. While on the Empire podcast, director Gareth Edwards revealed that the original ending to Rogue One was significantly different. Quote, the very first version, they didn't die in the screenplay, and it was just assumed by us that we couldn't do that. So I was trying to figure out how this ends, where that doesn't happen, and then everyone read that, and there was this feeling of like, they've got to die, right? And everyone was like, yeah, can we? We thought we weren't going to be allowed to do so, but Kathleen Kennedy and everyone at Disney were like, yeah, it makes sense. I guess they have to because they're not in A New Hope. And so from that point on, we had the license to do so. So Jacob, you hear this, and keeping in mind the ending of Rogue One and his comments, is the Rogue One ending the best ending for the film?
It is the best ending, but it's also the only ending.
Yeah.
Because look, they're literally on the same rebel base that they're in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Like, these characters were just there, so why wouldn't they be there in A New Hope? If they took part in this and survived, they would be right beside Luke fighting in A New Hope. So it wouldn't have made sense at all if these characters survived. Like, even if they wanted to spin it like, oh, the Empire knew who they were, so they had to send them off to hiding. I guess you could have done something like that, but like, it just made their sacrifice that way much more that they actually died at the end. And like, I know that their characters weren't developed the best, but especially like Jyn Erso and K2SO, like you feel those deaths. And for me, I kind of felt all of them, because it's like, yeah, just like imagine if you were one of those characters on that mission with them. You didn't have time, like the pilot Brody didn't have time to get to know Jyn or the
Chewett and Baze
and Cassian. They didn't have time to get to know each other. So just like the audience, we didn't have time to get to know them that well. But if you were on that crew with them and you saw them die, you would feel it because you're like, wow, I was a part of this, and their sacrifice, you knew what their sacrifice was and how much it meant to saving the galaxy in the long run. So, like, for me, it worked and it meant a lot, and I don't see any other way. It wouldn't have been possible to have them survive.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was, the only option as far as an ending goes. It's cool to hear that they're coming out and saying, oh, the original idea, they were alive, and, they could be in the universe somewhere. And I think looking back at even the first couple trailers that we saw, we could tell where the reshoots happened, and maybe someone like Jin did survive.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I like the comments. I like that, Gareth Edwards was kind of questioning the idea in the beginning, and then Kathleen Kennedy gave him the right idea. It's very dark for Star Wars to do so. It's very dark for Disney to do so. It's literally, and we've said it, but they're the real Suicide Squad. They knew going into the mission that more than likely that they wouldn't come out alive, that most of them would not come out alive. There was only a handful of rebels that went. So they knew that going in, and I think that it's the best outcome for the film. It works. It leads into New Hope perfectly. If they did survive, we would be questioning the original trilogy and where they were. So I think that the ending is definitely the best outcome for the film. All right, well, moving on a little bit of Rebels. With Rogue One officially out and kicking butt in theaters, the mythology of Star Wars is now being looked at in a much different light. With much of the focus now has been on the original trilogy, may be viewed after the events of Rogue One. One of the biggest impacts the film may have is on Star Wars Rebels. Although Rebels is in the current timeline and Rogue One are somewhere around 5 years apart, seeing the ghost ship and its crew hinted at more than once may be telling you where the show is headed. Now, with all the Rebels Easter eggs in the film, Dave Filoni, who is behind the show, has had to answer quite a bit of questions regarding those cameos. Via Entertainment Weekly, Filoni revealed that he may be considering connecting the show and film much more from one of Rogue One's biggest moments, the Battle of Scarif. Quote, I already have some theories about the story behind it. I can imagine doing that entire battle from their point of view, whoever's on the ghost at that point. So Jacob, we've talked about this quite a bit just because it's a total nerd moment for us because we're connected to the show. We watch it. What do you think about this idea?
I mean, how can you not love it? So I've seen Rogue One 3 times, and especially in my third time, I'm like looking for
the Rebels
for the ghost.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where Chopper is now. Right when the general is running out to talk to Mon Mothma, and I know exactly where the General Syndulla.
I heard it finally.
Yeah, it's on the intercom when I forget. Oh, after they're in the circle having the big debate, and Mon Mothma's like, "Sorry, without the full support of the council, I cannot send you." And Jyn Erso's walking, and it's General Syndulla, General Syndulla. So like now, watching the film multiple times, I'm able to notice this, and I can see the ghost ship multiple times in the space battle, and I'm like, wow, like. No matter who's, and I'm sure not all of the characters from Rebels are in it. This is a couple of years later since the last time we've seen them.
It's a while away.
So, I mean, I doubt all of them make it that far, but just to imagine that Kanan or Ezra or somebody, even just Syndulla and Chopper and, any of the characters are on there, Sabine, like that is so awesome. And I can't wait to see it from their perspective, how they contributed, what they thought of the whole thing, like because the whole Rebel Alliance knows what Jyn and the rest of the characters did. So like, how did they process this? And who knows? Like, we don't see every single moment.
They might have interacted.
Exactly. We don't see. There's no time to show us every single moment with Jyn Erso on the Rebel base.
Like maybe Jyn bumps into Hera or something.
Exactly. Yeah. They could have talked, and Jyn and the characters from Rogue One can totally show up on Rebels, so that prospect is so exciting.
Yeah, it's an awesome idea, and I think that it's going to happen. It also begs the question that they're already talking about it now. Maybe there's a time jump at some point in Rebels, and it comes sooner rather than later.
Maybe.
I think that the Battle of Scarif from the Ghost point of view would be awesome because if you watch Rogue One, for those of you who know what the Ghost ship looks like, if you don't, Google it so you could see it. The Ghost is everywhere in the Battle of Scarif. It pops up in all different aspects of that battle. It also pops up on the Yavin 4 base. We see Chopper on Yavin 4. So that begs the question, maybe the ghost ship travels to the Yavin 4 base and we see the perspective of their view of that base eventually on the show, and I think that'd be really cool, depending on who's there, of course. My guess, I don't think we would see Kanan or Ezra, the fact that because they're Jedi.
Exactly.
Which would beg maybe one of them dies or they're both alive and just separated or whatever happens. But
yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I was thinking about that when I said it, but I mean, it'd suck for them not to be there.
Yeah,
though,
I feel like I feel like if anybody would be there,
if it's
Kanan.
the show,
then
why wouldn't one of them be there? If they're going to show this on the show, I mean, you're just going to show Hera and Chopper,
unless one of them dies,
or like maybe one of them dies, one of them goes to the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have that theory, so
I mean, a lot of people do.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome whenever it happens. I hope it happens sooner rather than later, just because I want to see it now.
Yeah,
but I do want to see these characters kind of flourish because Hera is becoming this huge part of the rebellion, and it would be cool to see the rebellion we see in Rogue One kind of evolve through the show eventually. So over the years,
and who knows what happens to them in the battle at Rogue One? Because where is Hera in A New Hope? You know what I'm saying? Like, the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. All right. Well, stepping away from Rogue One a little bit, or Rebels a little bit. Excuse me. Forrest Whitaker's Sagar Era maybe had 10 minutes of screen time in Rogue One, but he already has a place in Star Wars canon. The character started in the animated show Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and following his demise in Rogue One, was announced to appear in Star Wars Rebels when the show returns in a few weeks. But while speaking with Empire Magazine, Kathleen Kennedy teased that the appearance may not be the last time we see the hardened rebel turned extremist. Quote, with Sagar Era, we just became very intrigued with him as the character from the Clone Wars and how he fits inside the story. To be honest, we originally thought we were going to develop Saw into something much larger, but we couldn't accommodate it. So he is not in the movie as much as we would like him to have, as much as we would like to have him in the movie, which creates the opportunity to explore this character even further in our future development. It's also worth noting that Kennedy's comments were made before it was revealed that he would show up on Rebels.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a promo ad out or something.
Yeah,
like that.
So there's actually a clip. Yes,
like
so the future development she speaks of could very well be his time on the show. But kind of taking that away for a moment, I think that there's a possibility Saw could be a huge part of canon before Rogue One, just because he seems like almost the very beginning of the rebellion way back. After Order 66 in a way, and then kind of turned extremist like they talked about in Rogue One, closer to that timeline. I personally didn't enjoy his character in Rogue One, but I liked him in the Clone Wars, and I think that there's definitely possibilities for him in the future. It'll be interesting to see where he is as far as Rebels goes, if he's closer to his Rogue One character or if he's a little bit different. So I think that having him come back in Rebels is a very cool idea because he is kind of the first rebel in a way almost. And having Forrest Whitaker voice him too is really cool as well.
Is he voicing him?
He's voicing him. He's coming back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he came back and voiced him.
All right.
So he's kind of a huge advocate for this character to keep him around. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear about Sagar Era showing up at some point, maybe in a different anime show or a different movie they've done in between episode 3 and 4 at some point. Because I think that they have some cool ideas for him. So.
Oh yeah. So right before Rogue One came out, I was watching Clone Wars and I got to the episodes where Sagar Era's character comes into play, and I guess we can talk about spoilers with Clone Wars.
Yeah,
a little bit. All right. So spoilers for Clone Wars if you haven't watched it. I heard about this character leading up to Rogue One, and then I finally watched these episodes, and then he loses his sister in Clone Wars, and I'm like, wow, so this makes sense. So he was already like kind of a rebel in his own right. Like he didn't listen to anybody. He went off and wanted to do his own thing. Like, but he had guts, and he was always willing to do whatever it took to like do the right thing.
Yeah.
And he finally loses his sister, and then we don't ever see that character again after that. And like it makes sense for someone to like already have this rebellious attitude, lose his sister to the bad side. Whatever, it wasn't the Empire at that point, but it was still, ultimately the bad guys, and then to just end up keep going crazy over this whole thing.
Yeah.
And while I didn't love the portrayal of him in Rogue One, just like you, I mean, it was probably the worst part of the movie for me, like just way too over the top. And I'm assuming that's what they asked Forrest Whitaker to do.
Yeah.
I do It makes sense where the character ends up, though. How he is the way he is.
Just from our tease in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see him in Rebels. Like that. Hopefully, it's like a mixture of Clone Wars and Rogue One.
Kind of
because I don't want to see all the way Rogue One Sagar Era, but it's really cool because we always have talked about, like years ago, are they ever going to take a character from the animated and bring him to live action? They did it, and I feel like people like talk like that's still something that's like they're not going to do.
Yeah, but Sagar Era's right there.
They already did it, so
we can vice versa.
We can see this again for sure.
Yeah, I think the kind of description of the clip or the episode is that the ghost ship has to save Sagar Era or something.
Yeah, and I don't know how the years are going to line up. I don't know how far before Rogue One this is, but we know that Jyn was with Saul until she was 16.
Right.
And no one ever said that Jyn doesn't know these guys already. No one ever said that.
Very true. I forgot about that. That's true. Good point. All right, well, stepping away from movie news, we're going to get into a little bit of book reviews. Jacob doesn't have one to talk about today. He's going to start Tarkin
No, I'm starting Lords of the Sith. But I mean, I can talk about Ahsoka with you. I've done
that's
Ahsoka.
Right. Yeah, so I got.
I already did my review, but
I have Ahsoka and Lost Stars to talk about. So let's just start with Ahsoka. I think last time we were on here, I talked a little bit about it as far as where I was.
Well, I reviewed it like 3 or 4 Padawans ago.
I finished it about a week
before
ago.
Catalyst.
Yeah, I finished it a week and a half ago, and I really enjoyed it. Ahsoka, I've said it before, she's one of my favorite characters.
She's awesome.
She's a really cool character. As far as the book goes, I really enjoyed it. The ending is awesome. I thought it took a little too much time to get going.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It took like 20 chapters to kind of get really
really?
Yeah,
I enjoyed a lot of. It kept going back and forth for me.
Yeah, I love the interactions between the home people, and I forget the world that they're on.
Yeah, they're on a moon.
And I enjoyed the interactions with the locals that she had and kind of keeping her secret. But when it kind of ends up, who she is and whatnot, the story picks up and it's really strong. And there's some really cool arc building there as far as her character goes, and where she was at after she left the Jedi Order and after Order 66 happened, and then where she ends up. And I love the addition of Bail Organa in there.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. And, that begs questions as far as going forward for big movie roles. Is Ahsoka in there somewhere, Because she has a huge part as the rebellion in this book and in Rebels from what we see.
Exactly.
She's very much the beginning of the rebellion with Bail Organa. I love the whole lightsaber thing and with the Inquisitor, having the Inquisitor show up in there. And then you hear, with the white lightsabers.
Exactly how she gets them.
Yeah, and we see that in Rebels. We always wondered, how does she has white lightsabers?
Ones,
now we know.
And it makes sense, too.
And what I was interested about, though, is that, in Rogue One, it made me think about it. A big thing about Rogue One is the Kyber crystal and how it powers the Death Star. In Ahsoka, the book, it really describes how, or kind of focuses on how the fact that the people who are... The crystals only show to those who they're meant for.
Yeah.
So are those only the Jedi crystals or just crystals in general? Because I feel like that's kind of contradicting in a way. Because the crystals only show to those who they're supposed to show to. And then in Rogue One, they're kind of all over the place. Maybe there's 2 different sized crystals.
I think that... So, all right. Do you know how in Rogue One, how Jyn has a kyber crystal around her neck, right? So she can't... I don't think she can take that crystal, put it in a lightsaber, and light it up.
Okay.
So, whatever crystal's meant for you, like only you can use that crystal to power a lightsaber or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how it works, but I'm assuming I think anyone can physically see the crystals. But have you seen the episodes of Clone Wars where the younglings go off to get their crystals?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of crystals around, right? And only that one is shining for them. So when Ahsoka explains it as they're singing to them.
It's the light.
So I think, so only you can see, the one that's meant for you see it shining.
Okay, that makes sense.
The difference.
That makes sense. All right. Yeah, I mean, as far as the book goes, I really enjoyed it. There's, like I said, it's all about her, and we always wondered where she was, how she got to who she is in Rebels. This is, we hear, was it Fulcron or... her name at the end of the book.
I forget
how she used her name from Rebels that she uses.
Yeah. She gets it at the end of
the book, and she starts calling herself that. It's really cool. I love. I forget the 2 sisters' names that she meets on the moon.
Yeah, I forget their names.
But they're really strong characters alongside her. It's really cool, just to find out where she is, and that she's still a part of this universe as of now anyway. And we find out that she comes back to be this full-fledged Jedi that she really is, and I enjoyed it. It's not one of my favorite Star Wars books right now.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites,
but it's a good entry into this new canon of Star Wars.
Well, I just love learning more about Ahsoka.
Yeah, like, it's very much a character piece for her.
Oh, definitely, and just being a fan of her character. And I just watched the Rebels episode, or the Clone Wars episodes, where she leaves the Jedi Order.
Oh, okay.
And this is and then so I actually listened to the book first, so I was like. And that was an interesting perspective to see it from that way. So then I watched those, and then I see her in Rebels. So it's like it's really cool to like. I love gathering up as much information as I can possible about the Star Wars universe. That's why I'm literally gonna listen to all of the canon Star Wars novels when it's all said and done.
I'm with you there.
This one was definitely high up there. I don't think, as far as the way it's written and the way the storytelling is, it was good, but not great, like a Bloodline or something like that. But because it's Ahsoka, it's gonna end up being up there for me, just because it's Ahsoka.
And I also, I've touched on this a little bit, but it's really, they do a really, really good job of her and her connection to Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Well, I think I was going to ask you, how about the little Obi-Wan talking to Qui-Gon?
Yeah, that, they're kind of little flashbacks. They're like little, just little pieces in the story where they go back to, episode 2 and 3 in that time era.
Yeah.
One of them's on Anakin, and one of them's on Obi-Wan. You get a little bit of Qui-Gon in there as far as Force ghosts go. But I enjoyed when Ahsoka was kind of reflecting on her time with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and how, Anakin would do this thing, and she would kind of do it just to kind of, because he was her master. And same thing with Obi-Wan, and she would reflect on who they were and what kind of Jedi they were.
And she learned the most from both of them.
Yeah.
And how she's kind of a mixture of them both.
Very much.
How Anakin is reactionary and just acts on instinct, and Ahsoka does that too. And how Obi-Wan's wise and thinks things out, Ahsoka does that also. So like, she's kind of a mixture of both of them.
That's what's so cool about her. She learned from the two best Jedi ever lived.
Exactly. And speaking of Sagar Era, she knows Sagar Era.
That's right. Yeah.
And especially from those Clone Wars episodes, and she was right in the middle of his sister dying and all that stuff too. So we might see them interact again.
Yeah, there's big possibilities after this book, and Sagar showing up on Rebels. So next up, Lost Stars. This one.
I haven't done this one yet.
This one's cool. This one is really, really cool. We had talked a little bit. I did kind of a mid-review.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how it was kind of almost like a romance novel in a way. It shifted gears, and it's still very much a Lost Stars love story in a way with these two characters. I forget their names right now. I think, and I'll look them up here in a bit. But this book does a really good job. So it's an outside perspective. And there's a female character and a male character. And the male character defects from the Empire and leaves, fakes his death, and ends up joining the rebellion. And so, they love each other, all this stuff. She works for the Empire. He works for the rebellion. He's a fighter pilot. She works on Star Destroyer and kind of a pilot as well. But it's an outside perspective of every major event that takes place in the original trilogy.
See, that's why I'm intrigued about this.
So that's
what I heard.
We heard about the first destruction of the Death Star, the Battle of Hoth, and he's a fighter. He's a snowspeeder pilot in the Hoth. He takes down an AT-AT.
Wow.
And they're on Bespin. She, the female character, this is kind of spoiler territory, but she disengages the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive.
Wow.
From episode 5.
Wow.
So they're all wrapped in the original trilogy events, the blow up of the second Death Star, the Battle of Endor, all of the stuff that takes place in the original trilogy. It's in this book, and it's by Claudia Gray, who did Bloodline, of course. And the characters are very strong. The two mains, the events that take place once it really gets going is strong. I enjoyed it. I wanted to learn as much as possible, just because it's about the original trilogy. And it takes place between all the major events. So I definitely recommend it. It's definitely for all ages. So there's nothing in here that will hinder you from listening to it or reading it. And of course we do the audiobooks, so we're able to get a different perspective. But yeah, it's really cool. You hear about Han and Leia and Luke and all these characters, and you see all the major events from an outside perspective, and it's really cool. There's some interesting stuff there that happens at the very end that I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, don't spoil it for me.
But it's really cool.
Wow, I kind of want to do this one next now. Yeah, it sounds amazing.
All the major events within the original trilogy are in this book. So Claudia Gray did a fantastic job, kind of just writing it and putting everything in pieces. So
I'm not surprised at all to hear that book's awesome because of Claudia Gray. Bloodline. I mean, I've only done.
I'm listening to Bloodline.
I've only done 3, but out of the 3 I've done, out of Catalyst, Ahsoka, and Bloodline is by far like the best written and the best one and my favorite one so far. So I'm definitely looking forward to Lost Stars. I'm doing Lords of the Sith first, but now I'm thinking I might want to do Lost Stars after that. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So we're going to move on from our book reviews. We're going to get into an Address in the Academy.
I'm guessing that's from you because I don't have one prepared.
I think it's something we both want to talk about. It's just something I want to, just a question I want to ask. But with Vader, having his moment in Rogue One, per se, and him being one of the most popular characters of all time, would it be a good idea and possible for Vader to get his own standalone anthology film? Within episode 3 and 4, kind of when he becomes Vader, because once you start reading Lords of the Sith, you'll kind of know where I'm coming from.
Okay, and then maybe I'll have a different point of view on this.
But do you think it's possible that he could get his own standalone movie?
Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's
a good idea?
I don't know because, I mean, of course I want to watch Vader on screen for 2 hours, but how do you make a movie? Because how do you make a movie about him when you don't see facial expressions?
Yeah,
that's a tough thing because look at Rogue One. It's an ensemble cast movie, but Felicity Jane Erso doesn't talk that much. It's a lot of facial expressions, and her performance drives that movie. How do you make a Vader movie when you don't get to see his emotional?
It's the same thing with a Boba Fett movie.
Reactions to things.
Yeah.
In that case, you get a Judge Dredd movie, a lot of people refer to as the way it can work with the masked character. I think it definitely can work. I think you have to have a strong second lead, whoever that is. Who I don't know who. I mean, I don't want to see Tarkin or maybe not the Emperor. No, because then he's all hooded and scarred up. So I don't know. You would have to whoever I feel like the movie would have to take place when he's interacting with a certain character. It can be a new character that they make up, where that second lead is, just a human and you see their facial expressions, where that person can play off of Vader. Maybe there's this doctor character in the comics.
Dr. Alpha,
maybe her.
She's awesome.
Maybe they come back and interact later on.
Yeah, she has her own comic book right now.
Yeah, I've been wanting to check it out. So I think, yes, it can work. I want to see it. Have the Emperor in there. Have Vader... Because Rogue One made sense where you don't get Vader on the battlefield tearing it up. If you're gonna do it, have Vader on the ground tearing it up on the battlefield. Have a strong lead second character, and it can work.
See, I because I've read listened to Lords of the Sith.
That's the thing. I haven't.
Yeah, and I think that you trap Vader. They're on a ship. Their ship gets destroyed. There are no communications. Him and the Emperor are trapped on the moon. They got to fight their way out. Because that's basically what Lord of the Sith is.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
And I think that, or just Vader alone, or whatever. But I think that something like that would be super cool.
Be Vader alone, and he's forced to make a relationship with another character.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be super cool to do. We've never really seen Vader in the light that he was in Rogue One. Never seen him use his lightsaber like that. And to get we want more of that, obviously, because people are going crazy for it. And so I think it would be awesome. I do like your idea, though, of partnering him up. It makes sense because it's just a mask. He's wearing a helmet. So, whoever that is, maybe it's the Emperor, maybe it is Dr. Alpha or someone completely new. But it would be very interesting to see a Vader standalone movie and how it would work out. It would definitely have to depend on the director because it would have to be something dark because Vader is dark.
For sure.
But I think it'd be super fun to see an all Vader movie. Just that kind of action would be.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think it could work where he's stuck in a situation where he's forced to talk to this other character, and through him talking to that character, you realize there's still some Anakin in there. There's still he has to be this evil force for the Empire, but if you really, because I'm sure Vader gets lonely. Who does he get to talk to about stuff? So he's still a person. So like maybe you get to see a different side of Vader, but then when it really comes down to it,
maybe like a couple TIE fighter pilots or a pilot of a ship.
Yeah,
the ship crashes and then a couple pilots
like at
survive.
First, like he's like, "Don't talk to me." Like you have no business talking to me. But then as time goes on, see, you can do something really great like that, like with him. So yeah, I think it can work.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. All right, well, cool. It's gonna wrap up our Padawans today. I'd like to thank Jacob for joining us today. Let them know where they can find you online, man.
Find me on Twitter at JakeBarley_. And man, I love talking Star Wars so much. This is one of my favorite episodes of Padawan, man. We talked about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, little Rogue One, Rebels, Vader,
Ahsoka.
Yeah, Ahsoka. That's right. Yeah, we could. You can find me, Jake Blinn, Twitter, Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake. Check out this YouTube channel. Please give us a like, share, subscribe. Our weekly movie news show, Top 10 of 2016, most anticipated of 2017, coming up here in a few days. Make sure you check those out. And our new video stuff, too, sitting on a couch hanging out. So that was a lot of fun earlier today.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us today, and may the Force be with you.